Welcome to episode 9 of Coffee and Co-Read, your source for all things literary, with Kristen
and Catherine, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club, where we take one book a month and dive into all the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hey, Kristen.
Hi, Catherine.
So we're finishing up the first book in the Crescent City series this week, and it has a pretty epic ending. A lot happens in these chapters. So I kind of wanted to talk about like how books end, cliffhangers mostly, but to be honest, I didn't really think that this book ended with too bad of a cliffhanger. I thought it wrapped up pretty well. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I felt the same. It's more like we've talked before about how she's really good at laying breadcrumbs out for future books. Like she mentions things now that are not relevant for like 2 or 3 more books. So I find that a little bit frustrating in its cliffhangeriness. Like they wrap up this immediate story pretty well, but like there are still some things that they don't answer. So that's sort of like, oh, I can't wait until until we figure that out.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I there are like some books that have really significant like killer cliffhangers that I literally cannot handle. We talked before about the Mortal Instruments series, how there was a huge, not even so much a cliffhanger, but a plot reveal in book 1 that's not really resolved until like the end of book 3. So I literally could not read that book. I had to Wikipedia it and figure out what happened in order to keep reading, because I was like, I'm not reading it if it doesn't end the way I want.
Yeah, for sure.
I found Catching Fire had a decent cliffhanger at the end. Obviously, another Sarah J. Maas book, A Court of Mist and Fury, has a really good cliffhanger. And even going old school, like to a book I read in high school, The Giver actually was less cliffhangery, but like sort of it ended and you didn't really know what happened. Like, I'm not trying to give too much away, but because it's such an old school book, like at the end, the guy is escaping to freedom with a baby. And like they essentially are at the top of this big wintry hill and they slide down it towards like a village, I guess. And that's it. It ends. So like some people say, oh, well, that means they all died. Some people say, no, they found civilization and they went and moved into that village. Like it's sort of an open to interpretation ending.
Yeah, for sure.
And I loved the book. I really enjoyed teaching it last year. But yeah, I'm not here for those endings where it's like, you decide what happened. No, tell me what happened. I want to know.
That movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where you're like, what actually happened? What movie was that?
Oh,
Inception.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's true.
that movie is a lot.
I just find that when they don't tell you what happened, like I understand that they do it to sort of give you a sense of ownership and sort of let you have the ending that you want the book to have. I just find it takes me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine this world with all these people and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you decide the ending. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, no.
You made the world and the characters. You decide the ending, please.
You tell me what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what I came here for. Yeah.
Tell me what to do.
A lot of contemporary books kind of end like that, with that not really an ending. It's just kind of like, and that's the end of the day. And you're like, but what happens tomorrow? I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think for cliffhanger endings?
Well, one that I'm sure you agree on is another Sarah J. Maas book, Empire of Storms is the biggest cliffhanger that I've ever had to deal with, especially a Sarah J. Maas book for me, because
Yeah.
the Throne of Glass is my favorite of the series, but that one like killed me. And then we had to wait for Tower of Dawn to come out before Kingdom of Ash even came out, and it was just like you're reading Tower of Dawn and you're just looking for any hint into the ending of Empire of Storms and you get nothing. So that one was bad. I actually recently this week finished Crescent City 2, and it has a really big cliffhanger too. I don't know if it's quite as big as Empire of Storms, but like it's really big. That's all I can say about it. But I don't know if you might want to just wait and read it when the third one comes out, because it's a lot.
Yeah, so this is my issue is I am not patient. I do not like the idea of waiting, and I need to know what happens. So I do like to wait sometimes. I don't think I'm going to actually be able to wait on this, but I would want to.
Yeah.
If it didn't take 2 years for a book to come out, I would probably
Hmm.
wait.
Although
But
Crescent City 3 is her next book coming out, she said. So it
yeah.
might only be another year, maybe. She's on maternity leave too, so it's who
She's
knows.
got a baby. She got lots of stuff to be at.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, Another cliffhanger that I read was Six of Crows. Apparently is a huge cliffhanger, but I was lucky enough that I just had the next book anyway, so I didn't really notice that one. But that's a little hint for next month's book.
Right. Just a heads up, we are not a spoiler-free zone and things could get a little saucy.
So this week we're talking about the end of the book, which is chapters 71 to 98. Last week was kind of a sad ending of chapters. Bryce is really feeling defeated and betrayed, not only by Hunt, but a bit by Danika, because there were so many revelations about Danika's apparently addicted to synth and she stole the horn, and all of this is happening. And she feels like she doesn't know Danika anymore. Hunt is in jail. Justinian is dead. And Vic is in a box in the ocean. Well, her essence is in a box that's just been sent to the bottom of the ocean. But Bryce has come up with a smart, in her words, plan. And that's kind of where we are now.
Right. So if you guys remember at the very end of our last episode, Fury says, "Promise me you won't do anything stupid." Because Hunt is in jail because he's a traitor to the crown. He was trying to rebel again. Like, will he never learn? Anyway,
No.
so so yeah, at the end of the last episode, she literally says to Fury, like Fury asks her, "Don't do anything stupid." So she says, "I won't do anything stupid, but I will do something smart. Whether it is smart or not, we'll have to talk about
Highly up for debate.
it."
So these chapters start with Hunt is just waiting in his prison cell to be taken by Sandriel because she is now his new owner. And the slideshow of him and Bryce is still kind of playing in the background of his cell. And he says it's as much of a threat as a look at what you kind of lost thing. So Pollux takes Hunt from his cell and puts him in manacles that are like a special kind that can break his bones and flesh and melt his brain if he tries to resist at all, which obviously sounds awful.
They
uh,
sound they sound really extra, if I'm being honest.
Very extra, right? Like he can't do anything anyway. So why are we trying so hard here?
Yeah.
But the lobby is full when he gets brought down there, and he's kind of worried that everyone's down there to mock him because he was caught trying to rebel again, and now he's going back to basically his abuser. But everybody's kind of just there to say goodbye and show support, which surprises him and also seems like a bad thing to do. Like, you wouldn't, I don't know, you'd think that you wouldn't want to show support towards a rebel. You wouldn't want to be a rebel sympathizer here,
Yeah.
but I guess they're all friends.
Oh, and I guess like we don't really know as of yet. Like we don't know the mix. Like how many of those angels on
Mm-hmm.
the 33rd, how many of them are slaves? How many of them are free? How many
Yeah.
of them don't agree with the hierarchy? And like, yeah, like you said, obviously they don't really want to be seen as rebel sympathizers, but at the same time, like he just did something, which is more than a lot of people did. It was
Mm-hmm.
dumb of him, but he at least did something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's nice.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like, shows that they probably respect him. So,
Yeah.
so here comes the big plan, TM. Bryce shows up in the lobby, and this is her smart moment. She tells Sandriel that she will buy Hunt for 97 million gold marks, which she got as a loan from Jessica. And she also offers her necklace to Sandriel, which is worth 3 million. So basically 100 million gold marks is she's trying to buy Hunt for. And she has the proof that she has the money. And unsurprisingly, Sandriel is a piece of shit about it, even though apparently like the reason she sold Hunt in the first place was because she had like debts and stuff. So you'd think that she would get over this like pettiness and take the money. Like I'd
But I
100% take the money.
but obviously she can't be that indebted anymore considering she just purchased him back.
But we don't know for sure if she purchased him or if Micah was like, you can have him because I know it's the worst thing that would punish him. So we don't really know for sure.
Yeah, good
But
point.
still, I would take the 100 million gold marks.
Can I just can I just be honest though and say like I appreciate her plan. I don't think it was I like I just think her the way she went about it was bad. Like
Yes.
she literally went up to Sandriel in the middle of a super crowded lobby and she showed her hand.
Mm-hmm.
She was very obvious in how desperate she was. Like
Yeah.
obviously Sandriel's going to say no when she sees how much you want it.
Yeah. She can
Like
get more out of it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that part for me was stupid. It wasn't the idea of buying him that was stupid to me.
No, no, exactly. I
It
agree
was
completely.
it
Yeah.
was her like her thought process on how she was going to do it. I think she could have done it way differently and approached it differently and done a good job.
Yeah. Even if like she let him be taken by Sandriel, she could buy him after. If she has all this money, she doesn't need to buy him right now. It's not like it's super far away. Yeah, it really was not the time or the place.
uh, we keep
So
coming
good.
back to that.
So yeah, she also offered the obviously necklace that is a protection amulet. And Sandriel just destroys the necklace. And it's a $3 million necklace. And Sandriel just destroys it. And there are no repercussions at all for her doing this, which I kind of just think is bullshit. Like, it shouldn't be allowed that she can just do whatever she wants. Like, she should have to pay $3 million to Jessica.
But I also feel like she's so high up in power. That would honestly be like if I tried to give the Queen of England a necklace and she broke it. What what am I going to do against the Queen of England?
I
Nothing.
know. But
It's
it's
like
$3
that.
million. It's just such a, like, I don't know. We also don't really know what their money is, but
Yeah.
3
You
million
mean
seems like a lot.
you mean like equivalency? Like is three
Yes, yeah.
million gold marks the same as $3 million?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So clearly Sandriel's going to say no because she just broke the fucking necklace. So Bryce's new plan is to just trade places with Hunt instead. Like, he'll, I guess, still not be free because he's still a slave, but Sandriel will take Bryce instead and he'll go back to Micah. I don't really understand what
Yeah, I
the
don't really
thought
understand.
process here was.
Well, I don't really understand either. Like, would he still be a slave if she's trading her freedom for his?
I know,
Wouldn't
but I
he
don't
then
think,
be free?
but he still has a crime. Like, it's not like, yeah, I guess maybe that's what she was hoping, but I just feel like he still committed a crime, so I can't imagine. Not that I think his crime is actually worthy of what he's obviously had to do, but I don't know. I don't think that he would just be free. That seems wild.
Yeah. Although I feel like that's what else would happen?
Well, it would have to if you're giving up a free spot, I guess, but
Yeah.
that's
I like
probably.
how I like how we're just talking about this as if it's like every day that we traffic people. Like we're
Yeah.
talking like we are so knowledgeable about this. Guys,
Yeah.
we don't traffic people, I promise.
No. Um so Sandriel knows who Bryce is, and she knows that Bryce is the Autumn King's daughter. And she's kind of thinking about trading the places because I guess she thinks that Bryce is a good pawn to have, basically. Like it puts her in with the Fae, and then she also knows that Hunt is going to be devastated. So it's really a good piece that she could play. Uh, but Rune shows up and he tells everybody there that she can't trade places because he claims her as his bloodline. And because of that, Bryce is basically Rune's property because this is the dark ages of the world and women are men's property.
Yuck.
Yep.
That's all I can say. Yuck.
Agreed. So Sandriel tells Rune that he should have slit Bryce's throat, which is a lot.
It's a bit extra.
It's a bit extra. And
I feel like we should say that. So, as of right now, Bryce is doing all of this to save Hunt. They haven't had any chats, they haven't talked at all since he sort of betrayed her on the
mhm,
boat. And she's still trying to rescue him, even
yeah,
being like furious with him. Like she
yeah,
knows that he betrayed her and she's still doing her best to save him because she doesn't want to lose somebody else that she loves,
yeah.
which is so sad. Like, girl, you deserve it all.
Yeah, for sure.
You
And
don't.
like I get why she's doing it, but I just like I don't know if you've read other Sarah J. Maas books and you've read plans of her other heroines, they're like so smart and like so well thought out and wild. And you're like, I didn't see that turn coming. So when I first read this book, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those moments where like she like turns everything around because she's like a badass, smart female protagonist. And then this happened, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? If I'm being honest, I was like, what the fuck did she just do?
Yeah.
Not that I would ever do any better, because I don't know what else you could really do, but just thinking of other
Yeah. The
female
her
main characters.
Yeah, her she tends to write really like her other main characters having really strategic plans in place that have like levels upon levels upon levels of like psych, right? It's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm going to give you this, but oh, I've got like three backup plans just in
Hmm.
case this doesn't work. And Bryce doesn't have that at all. She went pure instinct. But it also, I think, runs quite in line with what we know of her
It
as a
does for
character,
sure. Yeah.
right? She's not a not that she's not smart, but she's not a she was never like a strategic
No.
planner, ruler, like sort of
Hmm.
heroine. She's never really had that responsibility of being responsible for other people. So like
Yeah.
this sort of it falls in
It
line.
It tracks for sure,
It
but
suits her.
it does. And I also like reading it a second time and actually thinking about it. Like I do appreciate it more because I'm like, not everybody is that.
Right.
And I think it's great that some characters can't just save the day all the time. Like it is very realistic and I enjoy that, but at the same time I also was like, this is not what I was expecting from a Sarah J. Maas book. But
Yeah.
anyway. Bryce says that she is going to find a way to save Hunt no matter what. And he tells her that they owe each other nothing, which is a bit of like a gut punch, but she also recognizes that like if the positions were switched, she would say the exact same thing to him so that he would stop trying. Because obviously Sandriel like has her target on Bryce now as well. She also tells Rune that she's never going to forgive him. And he tells her to cry to somebody who cares. And they're both killing me. Like, why? Why are you both like this?
Can I just be honest and say that's one of my favorite comebacks as a teacher when the kids complain to me, and it's junior high kids now, so I'm not saying it to like little 3 or 4-year-olds. But like when a teenager like says, "Oh, well, sorry, I didn't pass this in," like, or something like that, and it's like a stupid reason,
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, like, are you gonna cry about it? Like, like cry to someone who cares. Like, does it look like I care? Like,
Yeah.
those are my favorite types of comebacks. So I'm living for Rune right now.
Yeah. No, and 100%. Like, I get why he says it, but like, they're just both really good at getting under each other's skin, and just, it's so much. I don't really blame Rune for what he's saying. Like, he does realize that her plan was dumb, but I'm also like, just stop pissing each other off for the love of God.
Just be brother and sister again.
Right? So Declan and Tristan were with Rune, and they're pissed at him for not telling them that Bryce is his sister. And I guess they never guessed at all throughout these years that they've known her. They just had no idea, just assumed that she was a sister.
She was a
I
cousin.
mean, she was a cousin. That she was a cousin, yeah. But, like, did they ever tell Declan and Tristan, like, who her father was? Like, it just seems like they should have had an idea, but
they had a weird relationship for cousins.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other reason that they're pissed is because technically Bryce is their princess. Because she is the daughter of a king. That makes her a princess. But
Vomit.
he didn't claim her, so she's not. And Rune is still kind of worried about his prophecy. If you'll remember, the bloodline dies with him. So he's worried that that means that Bryce will die because he's the last one of his bloodline. And if she's recognized, then she's in the bloodline, so she would have to be axed if he's the last one. Yes. So Bryce goes to the Black Docks after this to kind of like talk to Danika. I kind of envision it like going to somebody's gravesite to kind of feel close to them. But while she's down there, she's attacked by a crystallos demon.
A maggot with arms.
A maggot with arms. This is the first time that Bryce herself has been attacked by one of these. So it's kind of like a big deal. She also gets pulled into the water and is like almost dying basically. But Declan jumps into the water and grabs her. She explains to them that the demons are summoned by synth because the synth has the crystallis demons number in it and also summoning salt. So if anybody uses synth, these demons are summoned, and it's basically a huge freak accident. And Rune kind of says that they can't trust it. It could have been an attack by somebody, and that she should stay with him so that she's not alone. And she deletes his contact information. She's like, never talk to me again. You're just like, this seems wild. This is a lot of jumping we're doing here. Then we jump back to Hunt's point of view, and he's at the summit meeting, and he's in his uniform and manacled.
Like, I just find this, like, I don't know whether to be impressed with Sandriel at the power move or, like, the fact that she's literally, like, she couldn't drop him off somewhere.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
she couldn't leave him in jail somewhere. She literally had to manacle him and take him with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? Why
Yeah.
did she have to do that? Like, to me, it can only be like a show of look who I got, right? Like,
Yeah.
look who I've captured. It's the Umbra Mortis, like the the angel of death.
He's
Like,
mine again.
he's mine.
Yeah.
So, like, I sort of got to respect the power move, to be honest.
No, I get that. Yeah, it is kind of like, why? I don't
Plot device.
know. Really, though. So there are a lot of people at the summit, too. There's obviously the archangels, Micah and Sandriel. There's 49 Asterian guard angels. And then there's at least kind of 2 people from each house. So there's Fury and Jessica, Hypaxia, who is the meta witch that we met before, who Rune didn't know her name. And this is like a huge reveal that she's actually the queen. So the meta witch that we met a bunch of times, really, in previous chapters, is now the queen of the witches.
Dun 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 dun.
Basically. Tharion's there. Sabine and the Prime are there. The Autumn King and Rune as well. And that's like the main people for most of the houses, but like Declan and Flynn are also there.
So essentially every character that we have met in the book,
Yeah.
except for Bryce,
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone. Like, every single one.
Anyone that means anything in the entire book is in this room.
Yes.
Also, plot device.
Oh, except for Juniper.
Yes, that's true. So they're starting the summit meetings, I guess, and the Asteri kind of do like a video call. It's like Zoom, but scary. So if you remember, the Asteri all each hold the power of a sacred star. So like they're hella powerful and everybody's afraid of them. So everybody in this room kind of kneels down, and we're in Hunt's point of view at this point, and he kind of looks around to see if anybody else like raises their eyes to actually look up at them. And Hunt, Tharion, Rune, Declan, and Hypaxia are the only ones in the room that kind of like look up at them while they're still kneeling. But like Hunt kind of makes a big deal out of it. So I was like, I'm going to put those names in there.
Yeah, it's like they're the only ones that are sort of not like rebellious, but they're the ones that are sort of independent, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good word. So Rune talks into Hunt's head at this point, and
which I wish I could do
100%. And like, Hunt is kind of shocked because we didn't actually know that Rune could do this.
No, I think he said he got it from his mother's side. But he said that his dad is like flame. He's the Autumn King, so he gets flame powers from him. But he said his mother has like shadows.
They have a bit of a bro moment in Hunt's head, and I actually laughed out loud at this part because, like, I guess Hunt asks Rune if he knew that the meta witch was Hypaxia, and Rune answers with, "No, I fucking didn't," and it's just like. I appreciate that. I wanted to hear that from somebody because I was like, why did nobody notice?
Yeah, because again, if you guys remember, this was way back, I think in episode 1 of this book. um, apparently Rune is supposed to marry the new queen of the witches,
Mm-hmm.
according to his father. So, like, he was supposed to marry Hypaxia. Then he met her as a meta witch and was flirting with her hardcore.
They had
Thought
some
she was,
chemistry.
yeah, thought she was hecka pretty. And now he knows she's the one he was supposed to marry. It's like, it's
Yeah.
serendipitous.
Yes. I thought you were going to say Sarah J. Maas, but you said serendipitous, and I was like, oh, it's both. So the Asteria are still on their Zoom call, and they recognize Hypaxia as the Witch Queen, which is basically half the reason that they came almost. I don't know. Like, it's a big moment, obviously, for her that she's being recognized. And they welcome everybody else there and give some vague warnings before leaving to let everybody else discuss the issues. It's kind of interesting, I think, that they even bother showing up at all on Zoom. Like, they aren't taking part in any of these conversations. They're seems like they kind of just stay in their little tower and never go anywhere. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it feels like it almost it almost feels Wizard of Oz-ish. Like,
Hmm.
remember at the very end of the Wizard of Oz when she finally goes to speak with the wizard and then realizes just some rando behind the curtain? That's almost what it feels like to me. Like, no one ever interacts with the Asteri. No
Yeah.
one like sees them or knows them. They're on the video screen, but like God only knows what that could be. Like, we could have a full-on smoke and mirrors. There could be like some rando, or,
It
like
could
a
just be
bunch.
one guy there.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't
He
know.
just has a good background. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
that's true. Yeah. Um, so the meetings are kind of ongoing. There's a bit of talk and
it's
everything.
it's like really boring bureaucratic. Like, hmm, like, do we think we should grow potatoes this year? And then they spend like an hour discussing that. It's
Yeah.
super boring bureaucratic nonsense.
Yeah. They're like, should we destroy all of the kelp ever? Maybe not, but you do you. I don't know. So Rune also confronts Hypaxia about not telling him who she was. And she kind of just says that she wanted some anonymity before she became queen and that she doesn't wish to marry anyone right now. So,
You go, girl.
yeah, really, though. I appreciated that.
Although
Um,
he's hecka handsome.
oh my God, I'm in love with him. I've already said it a million times.
Yeah,
Like,
so like you could do worse.
right? 100%. I would jump on that all day long. um, Sandriel, I guess it's like the next day of meetings, and Sandriel tells everybody that's there that Micah is called away and he's going to return kind of in the afternoon or something. Um, Rune, we're in his head for a bit, and he kind of just mentions that he knows that the archangels are going to get whatever they want and nothing's going to change. So he doesn't even really understand why these meetings are happening. And like you said earlier, it's kind of like boring stuff back and forth. And we're kind of there like, why are we why are we here for this part? Um so we go back to Bryce's point of view, and she is at work and she's trying to find a way to save Hunt. She also steals another amulet from the gallery. It's one of 5 left in the world that is worth $3 million. That Sandriel just destroyed one, but I guess Jessica's cool with it, or doesn't
Or
know.
not. Doesn't know.
Likely doesn't know, but yeah, she just stole another one from her. MBD. So Micah just kind of walks in to the gallery. He says, "Oh, the door was open."
Which is
A
not
blatant lie.
possible.
Yeah. And it's kind of just interesting that he can break the wards like that. Like, I don't know if Jespa realized that before. And it's interesting that he's just throwing it in there now. I guess because she's so far away, she can't do anything about it. Kind of convenient.
Yeah.
So we flash back to the summit again, and Jessica gets an alert on her phone, and she cuts Sandriel off, which I love. And she says there's something they all need to watch. So Declan, the tech wizard he is, projects her phone to the screen so that everyone can watch whatever it is that she's got on her phone. And I kind of like the way that they do this scene where you're kind of seeing it from everybody else that we know in the book except for Bryce's point of view. And you're kind of watching everything unfold and you're feeling how confused and useless they all feel. It's I really liked the way that it was written.
Yeah, so I feel like it should be said, if we haven't already, that the summit is like sort of going on, what, maybe like 45 minutes to an hour outside
Helicopter
of
ride.
town. Yeah,
Yeah.
like outside of town. So they're all like, they wanted like a secluded, sort of area to conduct these meetings. Except now they're literally all an hour helicopter ride away.
Yeah.
And Bryce is alone in the city. Well, not alone
Yeah.
now. She's got Micah.
She does. And apparently he's hot as balls, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have
Remember?
turned a completely different way.
Yeah. Remember in episode 1 when he could make someone come just by whispering in their ear.
Yeah.
So,
We're never going to get over that, in
No.
case you were wondering. Never. No. So they're kind of in the basement / gallery in Griffith's Antiquities, and it is apparently the Great Library of Parthos, which is a human myth that this even existed. And Bryce had talked about it earlier in the book, and I think it was Hunt or Rune. One of them kind of laughed at her and was like, "That doesn't actually exist."
Yeah.
And
It's supposed to be like a fairy tale.
mhm,
Like a library left over from when humans inhabited the world by themselves.
yeah. And it was just funny that they had that conversation while they were in this gallery. So they were literally in the library itself saying, "Oh, that doesn't exist." um, it does. And Jessica's biggest worry right now isn't about what Micah is doing with Bryce. It's about saving the books.
Well, like,
And
to be fair, he's not doing anything to Bryce at this
no,
point. They're just chatting.
yeah. And also, one person's life isn't really worth, this is terrible, but isn't really worth all this history and these books that are older than dirt, basically. They're older than they're older than the Asteri. They're older than the Fae heritage. Is like,
Mm.
yeah, I love Bryce, but I kind of side with Jessica on that one. As terrible as it is. Um, but Sandriel does threaten Jessica, and she's like, the Asteri will come down on you for owning these books. Like, it's illegal, basically, because the Asteri
Yeah,
don't want anybody knowing anything about the time before they were here.
yeah, it's like blasphemy.
Exactly. So we go back to Bryce's point of view. And
I love this part because Micah sort of at this point starts a spiel, and
yeah.
it's our plot mover along her. It's
I
like,
know. I
of
know.
course he has to tell her everything and lay it all out before anything else happens,
I
because we all
know.
need to know.
I literally said Micah's all about the villain monologue, which is good because I don't have a clue what's going on. Like, I needed this so much. So, but Micah, yeah, he kind of lays it all out for us. He says that he believes, because at this point, obviously, he doesn't know for sure anything, but he believes that Danika gave the horn to Bryce in her tattoo. So Danika stole the horn and ground it up and then tattooed it onto Bryce's back when she was high.
But do you know what, though? That is genius. Like, we were talking about how Sarah J writes like really strategic planning with
mhm.
its female characters. there you go. That
Yeah.
is it.
Danika was genius. Like she would have had
Yeah.
a smart plan to save Hunt. Um, so apparently the amulet kept the Crystallos demon away from Bryce. Since she is basically the horn, it's tattooed on her. So the
It's
Crystallos demon, yeah, the Crystallos demon basically is attracted to her, but because she had the necklace, it kind of warded it off. So then like other people got attacked because they were kind of near her. So that's why Hunt got attacked, because he was near the leather jacket basically. And that's why she obviously got attacked when the amulet had been crushed, because she didn't have it anymore and she is literally just a horn out in the world. Um, so basically, to fill Bryce with power is to blow the horn, which is an interesting way to say it for sure. Um, Bryce headbutts Micah at this point and tries to get away because she's like, what the fuck does it mean to fill me with power? Like, that doesn't sound enjoyable at all. And blowing the horn means that you're basically opening a door to a different world, in this case, likely hell. So it's not what anybody wants. So she tries to get away from Micah. She headbutts him, and then he is way too fast and powerful for her. Micah admits to killing Danika in the pack, and he says that he enjoyed every second of it.
He's a sociopath.
Yes. Redner's Industries had Danika find the rebels who were trying to create synth as an aid in the war. So the rebels had realized that the Crystallos demon's venom nullified magic. So they used the venom to isolate magic, and then kind of figured out how to make a synthetic version out of that isolated magic. Um, Bryce is kind of trying to keep him talking to save herself, which is like a great plan. And every like hero's plan is to like let that villain talk himself till he's fucked, basically, till she gets saved. Um, Danika was basically trying to get the synth off the streets because she knew how dangerous it was. And Micah said he would frame her for buying it if she didn't do something for him. And he wanted her to steal the horn when he caused the blackout. So he caused the blackout all in the past, and that she stole the horn for him, but she didn't give it to him, obviously. She crushed it up and stuck it on Bryce's back. Micah wants to use the horn to summon an army of demons to kill all the humans, basically, that are in Crescent City. Because if all the humans are dead, it's going to stop the war from coming there.
Yikes.
It seems like a ridiculous plan.
See, this is why I didn't want to be a human in this world.
Yes. This, among other reasons, but definitely this.
Yes.
Micah also believes that with the horn at full power, he'll be welcomed by the Asteri as one of their own, which is like, have you ever met an all-powerful being that's like ready to like give you some power? Because that's not how it works, brah.
No, no. And like, I don't care what weapon he has, no matter what he does, he's never going to be one of them.
No, there's no way. Micah must have also been the reason that Briggs was let out on a technicality in the beginning of the book so that he could be the fall guy. Like, obviously, if Briggs wasn't out, like, who would we have gone to then to blame all this on? He also kind of says that he disabled the pack with his powers the night that they were all killed, and he injected Danika with synth, and she killed the pack, and then she killed herself, which is just devastating. It's like the worst way that they could probably have been killed, really. And Micah wanted Bryce to help with the search because all he really wanted was the horn. And he knew that Bryce was the closest person ever to Danika. So he purposely like basically murdered by injecting with synth Tertian, the vampire, because he had been near Bryce so that he'd have kind of an in to get her to be the one to help in the investigation. And he also mentions that he pissed off the Autumn King on purpose to get him to look for the horn. So that's why Rune started looking for the horn. So we get into Rune's head for a bit here while he's watching all this happen. And he said that whenever he had the whenever he wanted to go look for the horn, he had the urge to go to Bryce, which is probably a wild revelation for him because he was right all along and he did find the horn because Bryce was basically the horn.
Yeah, and we should probably remember that Rune, because he was the Starborn Prince, was also attracted to the horn. So they were trying to use his
Yes.
powers to find the horn. So the fact that he wanted to go to Bryce all the time, well, we know his powers work.
Yeah, really though. So Micah also injected the acolytes, the guard, with synth to kind of hurry along the investigation and kind of point the direction at the temple, at the horn, so that they would know that the horn was part of all of this. Because that's really the only thing he wanted. He also had bombs in apparently a bunch of different places with the horn on like the crate basically, to frame humans and kind of keep the search alive. And I guess he was just watching them walk around and decided White Raven's the best place to do it. Like it's very intricate on his part. Like,
Well, he also has like GPS tracking, right, on
yeah,
Hunt. So he,
it just felt like a lot of like, is he doing this by himself? Does he have other people helping him? Because like, I don't know.
I don't think he does because I feel like it was a shock for everybody
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I agree. Um, so Micah injects Bryce with synth, hoping that it's going to fix the horn. Because when the horn was stolen, it was broken. And it could only be fixed by light that wasn't light and magic that wasn't magic. So he injects Bryce, hoping that this synth is going to fix the horn so that he'll be able to use it. Um, she kind of uses a book to get a shield up against him, but he goes after Syrinx, and he yeets Syrinx into the feeding tank of the Knock. And Syrinx can't swim, which is very sad.
I know, the poor little baby got thrown into a big old tank with a carnivore.
I know it's very heartbreaking, and I was so worried about Syrinx in this point, like about to be devastated. But so Micah and Bryce are still kind of fighting near the books, and we get some interesting book titles here. The ones that are mentioned are On the Divine Number, The Walking Dead, The Book of Breathings, sorry, The Queen of Many Faces. And we know The Walking Dead was in Throne of Glass. The Queen of Many Faces could be the queen from also that series. And the Book of Breathings was in Akatar. On the Divine Number, I don't know if we actually saw that one anywhere, but I figured I'd mention it because it's mentioned.
So
So,
yeah, so we're getting a nice little like link to the other worlds
mm-hmm.
of in her like repertoire of books.
Yeah. And I like the first time I read it, I was like assuming that Crescent City was very much in the future of like they had obviously this library is super old. It's a mythical library from before the Asteri were there, before any of the Fae were there, anyone. So it kind of feels like these books had been put there ages ago, is what I assumed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely interesting. So Micah obviously is still grappling with Bryce, but he shoves a shit ton of raw power into her back, just hoping that it'll like open a random portal in Crescent City. Um, and obviously all the important people, everyone we know, are at the summit. And I'm kind of guessing that he did it this way so that they couldn't stop him, but also they won't get hurt. And he didn't think that they'd be able to see it happening as well. He didn't think that they'd be watching it at the same time. So why would they ever think it was him?
They are actually watching it like on Jessica's security cameras.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's
And they
like
have all
a
the sound and everything. So
yeah.
they're hearing all these revelations too.
It's like a movie.
Yeah. So he throws all this raw power in and nothing happens. So he tells her that he's going to cut the horn out of her body. And I'm like, how? It's a tattoo on her back. Like, are you just going to like chop the skin off her back? Like, scoop it out? Like a pumpkin? I don't.
Ew.
Right? I don't really know his plan there, but he's mad in many ways, in the crazy way, but also in the furious way.
Yeah.
So the books kind of help Bryce to lock Micah into the bathroom, and Lahaba kind of obviously helps her too. So they get him locked in the bathroom, and Bryce goes after Syrinx. And the Knock didn't even attack Syrinx because he was hoping for a bigger meal. Rune makes a comment that this is Bryce's ordeal, which Veneer faced 2 trials kind of in their early-ish life, I'd say. The ordeal, which is an ordeal. Like, you don't know what it's going to be. Something happens. You need to overcome it. And then the drop, which is a drop into your power. So Rune thinks that this is her ordeal. So Bryce has dove into this huge ass tank, and the Nox attacks her, and she grabs his balls and wrenches them. And all the men at the summit are like, ooh, that would suck. You're like, it's a fucking Nox. Like, I understand that you're empathizing, but like, it's evil. Anyway, so Lahaba lets the platform down to kind of help Bryce up. And it's a bit iffy for a bit if she's going to get out. But anyway, she does overcome it. She passes her ordeal basically, and she gets Syrinx out, and she gives him CPR. And thankfully, he's basically fine. So she's carrying Syrinx, and her calf is very injured because of the Nox. So she's slowly kind of making her way to the stairs, trying to get upstairs and out of there so that she can get away from Micah, who is locked in the bathroom and like furious and trying to break out. Obviously, he's not just sitting there.
Wait 1 moment, please. I have to use.
May as well while I'm in here. So there are Bryce, Syrinx, and Lahaba are kind of leaving together. Lahaba stops at the bottom of the stairs to kind of buy Bryce some time. And Bryce is like, doesn't want her to stay there because obviously she wants her friend to make it through. But then she also tells Lahaba that she bought her last week and that Lahaba is now free. She's no longer a slave. And she didn't want to tell her before now because she wanted to throw a party and kind of like have a big thing about it. And Lahaba says that she actually knew because she looked through Bryce's desk. No boundaries. And Lahaba asks her to let the world know that her first act of freedom was to help her friends. Yeah. This part is kind of sad for sure.
Kills me because like she's literally offering to sacrifice herself so that Bryce and Syrinx can get away. And it's just like, she was never even that nice to you.
It's true. Yeah.
Anyway.
And like the line that I think gets everyone is the whole line is long, but I'm a descendant of Ranthiel Drawl, Queen of Embers. She is with me now, and I am not afraid. My friends are behind me, and I will protect them. And she kind of repeats that over and over as she's waiting for Micah to come out and basically for her to die. Lahaba kind of uses her power and her body to break the glass of the tank, since the water might slow Micah down. But she also knows that it's going to kill her because she is fire and it's 100,000 gallons of water. So everybody watching from the summit is like seeing her do this while Bryce is running away up the stairs. So we kind of see this from their point of view. And like as soon as Micah breaks out of the bathroom, Lahaba finally cracks the aquarium, and everybody at the summit kind of stands up to pay their respects for her because she had just sacrificed herself. And obviously they respect her for that. Everybody obviously except Sandriel, who
She's a stone cold bitch.
basically. So Bryce runs to Jessica's office and to the Godslayer rifle that we saw a few chapters ago. She easily assembles it with her magic and obviously her gun knowledge. And she opens the safe and grabs the bullet that she knows is there. And she also takes a potion. But Micah runs up towards the door and she shoots him through the window in the head. And then she uses Danika's sword to slice into him. And Hunt is kind of, I guess it's from Hunt's point of view now. We're really jumping back and forth because everybody's watching. But Hunt is afraid that the synth is going to take over and that he'll lose her without telling her she was the only person that mattered.
Boo hoo hoo.
Right. Here's where we get that the potion that she drank was an antidote. And it's the antidote that Hypaxia sent her a few chapters ago as well. And it neutralizes the synth. Bryce then pours a shit ton of gasoline on Micah and lights him on fire. And basically, as the auxiliary are showing up, she is just fucking vacuuming Micah's ashes up. Like you do.
Yeah, and it was actually a really good, like, not really a fight scene, but you sort of think that at this point, okay, that was our big climax, that was our big fight.
Mm-hmm.
Micah
Yeah.
just revealed everything and revealed all his plans, but oh, Bryce managed to get him and she killed him and vacuumed him up. So, like, now we're gonna go into our ending.
Yeah.
However, we still have 85 pages
Yeah.
and like 8 chapters of book left.
Yes.
So I actually really like it. It was like 150 pages at the end that's just pure like, whoa. It's just,
What is happening?
yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was hilarious that, like, essentially she tried to call the auxiliary at the beginning and was like, come help me.
Yeah.
And of course nobody shows up until after she's already taken care of everything and it's all over.
Like you would.
So, right? It's like friggin' useless. So they show up and she just lies and it's like, oh, sorry, we had a gas leak. It's like, if I had just been attacked, lost a coworker / friend, and saved my other friend from a carnivorous lizard man, I would not have that presence of mind to lie like that and be like, sorry, we had a gas leak. Like, no, I would be hysterical.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess this is Bryce's forte. She can bottle it all in. So she takes care of Syrinx, who was still recovering from almost drowning, and texts Jessica to be like, did you guys get all that? Like, what's going on? She honestly, at this point, is thinking, I just killed the Archangel of Crescent City. Like, I'm gonna be arrested and, like, sent to jail.
Of course.
But nobody shows up.
Mm-hmm.
At the summit, everybody who just watched her, like, casually vacuum up the Archangel, everyone is like, oh my god, she is definitely going to be sentenced to death because she's half human. And they're saying essentially that somebody who is half human and a sprite aka Lahaba, should not be able to beat the governor.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're like, he's supposed to be all powerful, and the fact that they killed him, like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But so they're all like, oh, well, she's going to be sentenced to death. However, she steps outside and realizes that Micah's experiment with the horn actually worked. So when they were fighting, he blasted her with power to try and blow on the horn to open a portal to another dimension. And he didn't think anything happened, but turns out something did. So a portal opened in one of the gates in Crescent City. So um, I feel like we talked a little bit at the beginning of this book how Crescent City has gates all over town that lead to their different districts. So like there's a gate for the Five Roses, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Fey district. There's a gate for
Moonwood.
Moonwood, the werewolf district. There's another gate for the humans area. Like there's gates all over the place. They're like lovely little archways. So a portal opened in one of those gates. And of course, it's the portal to hell. So Bryce could have gone into her apartment, locked the door, stayed hidden, but she didn't. She ran to her apartment, grabbed a bunch of ammo, grabbed a bunch of guns, and went to investigate, essentially, seeing what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in the city. And as she did her investigation, turns out Micah hadn't just opened one gate, because no, he had to be extra. He opened 7 gates. So there's one dimension, one portal to hell at each of the 7 gates around the city. So, like, frig man, he really went for it.
He did.
So,
And
like,
he didn't
all
even know. He died thinking that he failed, and he he killed it, really.
good for her. I'm glad that he didn't know.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
100%.
but that means that there are demons coming out of like 7 different areas and just like attacking and nomming on people. They're just going like nom 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 because they're demons. That's what they
Yes.
do. So I guess she contacts Juniper and is like, where are you? Like, are you safe? Because there's demons all over the place. Juniper is safe in a bomb shelter. Apparently, they have them all over the city, which I also find super convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of a city has bomb shelters all over the place? Not ours.
No.
Like, I want to have bomb shelters. What if something happens? Anyway, so I guess she's talking to Bryce on the phone and saying, I'm in a bomb shelter, but they want to close the door early to make sure that everyone already in is safe, but they don't want to let any humans in.
Which is exactly what Micah wanted.
Yes.
It's
And
wild.
yeah, and it's like, hello, they're people too. Like they're living beings.
Mm.
Anyway, Bryce essentially says, hold them off as long as you can. Get as many people into that bomb shelter as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bryce decides she's going to go out and defend the areas that have no enchantments already protecting them. So obviously, the better areas of town, like the Five Roses that the Fae have, and like Moonwood, they have magical enchantments like barriers that protect them to a certain extent. There
Mm-hmm.
are other areas of town that obviously don't have those barriers because there's no magic, like they're not important enough to protect.
Yeah.
So,
Humans.
yeah. So Bryce decides that she's going to go to the areas where there are no magical enchantments to protect those people. So she's going to go fight the demons there. But that means she has to like run all the way across the city.
Mm-hmm.
And this really bothers me. So the people at the summit are literally just watching.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're just hanging out content to like stay there. Like they know that they're safe.
Yeah.
And like they're ordering their armies. So like the Autumn King is there. Sabine is there. And
Mm-hmm.
they're essentially ordering their armies to protect the villas and the areas that have all the nobility inside, instead of
Mm-hmm.
all these like defenseless people that are out on the street being attacked by demons. It's like,
Yeah.
no, go defend our house that already has like a bunch of wards and protective enchantments on it. Go do that,
Yeah.
please. It's like, it honestly, good on Sarah J for writing it this way, but it made me want to vomit
Mm-hmm.
reading about the lack of detachment, like the to read about the detachment and the lack of like compassion from
Yeah.
Sabine and the Autumn King. Like, they have so much power. They can send their armies to protect people, and they're refusing because they are legit prioritizing a few noble people over a mass amount of regular people. And it literally, it just, it makes me want to be sick.
Yeah.
They just want to protect their stupid legacies, and I'm so mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
um I like there's a little dig in here. So, like, the prime wolf, Sabine's dad, has sort of always been on the periphery. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's sick, he's old, he's sort of not all there mentally. So, like, he's still technically the leader, but Sabine literally does everything because
Mm-hmm.
he's just not there mentally. So, he's like stirs, and I guess he's been taking all this info in, and he calls Bryce a wolf at heart for fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. Like, good on you, dude. Like, you raised a terrible daughter, but I like that he acknowledges Bryce's, like, her willingness to fight.
Yeah, for sure.
Um Before Micah left the summit to go deal with Bryce, he actually destroyed all means of transportation from the summit back to town. So, like, he sort of anticipated that maybe people would want to go back to town and fight. So he literally
Mm-hmm.
made it so that nobody could. Smart man, apart
Yeah.
from being vacuumed.
Apart from being dead now.
um, Fury happens to have her own helicopter, but it's 30 minutes off site. So they would have to wait 30 minutes for it to come to them. And then the next hour to get back to town.
Mm-hmm.
So Bryce calls Jessica on her cell phone, and they sort of patch her in so that she's on all the cameras and so that everybody can hear her. Um, and it's important to note that at the same time, um, Sabine is sort of conferencing with all of her wolf packs
Mm-hmm.
to try and coordinate what they're going to do, aka stay and protect the rich and hoity-toity. And the Autumn King is also sort of trying to coordinate his auxiliary to figure stuff out. So she's on speakerphone with the everybody, and she says that she's asking for backup at Asphodel Meadows, which is the human quarter. So that's where she's going because she knows they can't defend themselves. So she's going and she's asking for backup, and they're saying there's no backup. Sabine is saying, like, all the packs are already occupied. There's no one to go help.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my, like, it's such a powerful line, and I love it. Like, it's really gut wrenching, but I love it. She screams at them that there are children here, there are babies, and a deeper sort of horror spread through Hunt like ink in water. I love that. Like, they're saying no, and she's like, have a fucking heart.
Yeah.
Like, there are children and babies. Like, they might not be Fae, but they are innocent and they deserve to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's wild to me that there were packs stationed, like, at all the other parts of the city to protect the Fae and protect the Veneer, but not one person considered the human section.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just shows how, like, low the Fae view humans.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Ethan, rock star that he is, note the sarcasm. uh he hears, so he's on his speakerphone with Sabine, hears all that, and he says he's going to take his pack to the meadows.
Mm-hmm.
And then because he decides to join, all different types of shifters eventually see him head that way, and then they all join in, because shifters view themselves as the defenders of those who cannot protect themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
eventually um there's jackals, there's coyotes, there's wild dogs, there's hyenas and dingoes and foxes. There's all, they're defenders of the small, of the young, is how they define themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So um so yeah, so she has herself a little, I'm not going to call it an army, but she's got people coming to help her.
Yeah.
Hunt demands his cell phone from Isaiah at the summit. He gives it to him and says, and
It's like the
Hunt,
world's fucked already.
right? Yeah.
You can have your phone, I guess, if you want to tweet something.
Yeah.
Live tweet the situation.
Uh, but Hunt uses it to call the Viper Queen. And if we remember from our last episode, the Viper Queen is the one who sort of set Hunt up to be discovered by Micah. Like, it's because of the Viper Queen that Hunt and Justinian and Victoria were discovered as traitors again. So he essentially said, he was like, you owe me.
Yeah.
Like, you just gave me up. So he was essentially saying, like, send if you have anybody to send people.
Yeah.
So she agrees and sends her guards to also go help Bryce. So it's sort of a nice, I guess, together moment. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
all heading to the human section to protect the humans, even though for the most part none of them like the humans.
Yeah.
But they like, and when I say that, I say, like, as a society.
Yes. Yeah. They're definitely lessers.
Yeah. So they're fighting. Sandriel essentially told everybody at the summit, oh, we should stay here. I just conference with the Asteri, and they said they're going to send help. So they're all like, oh, they're going to send, like, the Asteri Royal Guard, like, they're going to go.
To get rid of the demons.
Yes. So I guess the shelter doors in the city are on a timer, and they all are shutting, and it's like one of those moments on the movies where it's like closing and closing and like inching closer and closer, and
You can slide and make it.
yeah, you can just slide. Anyway, so Ethan and Bryce are both running for, one of those shelters, and there's just enough time for one of them to get in, so Bryce, like, shoves Ethan in just as the
Mm.
doors shut.
Yeah.
So she used the last second to save Ethan because he's Connor's little brother.
Mm-hmm. And because
But
of their friendship that they used to have.
yeah,
Obviously, they don't have it anymore, but they were very close once upon a time.
yeah. But now she's stuck outside with the
Now she's fucked.
gates. Yeah, she is. The gates are open. Like, there's demons coming through. She doesn't really know what to do. She's not a soldier.
No. Like her
Um,
dad taught her some things, but she is not gone to war. She's not battled. Like she learned it for self-defense because she is a woman and a half human, not because she ever thought that she'd be in a situation like this.
yeah. Um, she starts running for the old square. She says that there's, like, bodies littered everywhere, like pieces of people, and demons are still pouring out of the gates, out of the portals. So she goes to the Heart Gate and she calls Hunt, and she starts to say her goodbyes. Like, she's been running all over town. She's been fighting demons left and right, and she's done.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna lie, this part, like, I bawled my face off at her goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
She said, like, so she thanks her parents, and she thanks Fury and Juniper and Rune. So she says thanks to Juniper for saving her that night from her jumping off the roof. Um, she says thanks, like, so that she could be helpful today. And I guess a lot of people were rocked at that. They were like, what? She was going to kill herself? Like, a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
were, yeah, really surprised.
Yeah.
And then she told Hunt that she had been waiting for him in her heart. And he sort of kept saying, like, go to your apartment, go to your apartment, like, just hole up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But she just keeps running for the old square gate instead. And she hangs up. So he can't talk to her anymore. So she goes to a gate, and all of a sudden, she lifts this blinding light from her chest. She just like pulls it out of her and pushes it towards the gate and declares herself the heir to the Starborn Fae. So all this time, she's had this Starborn power inside of her that she's not let out. We all know that Rune is the Starborn Fae, but we also know that his power is like a little kernel of light. It is
Mm-hmm.
small and flickering and like a little seed. She's got this like huge, overwhelming, blinding like star that she just like lifts out like it was nothing. Um, and it's sort of like a what kind of moment.
Yeah. Well,
And
especially at that point, I think we're in the mind of the summit people, and that's what makes it even better.
yeah, they're all like, what? Uh, but then we get a flashback to, in Bryce's point of view, we get a flashback to the time that Danika and Bryce were almost killed trying to break up that smuggling ring. So they were about to be shot. And this is that same moment that we keep getting snippets of throughout
Mm-hmm.
the book, like of them escaping this death. So they were literally about to be shot. And Bryce, I guess Danika says, I love you, Bryce. So then Bryce
Mm-hmm.
says, close your eyes. And they're literally about to be shot. They're like holding the guns to their heads. And Bryce unleashes her light and blinds all the thugs and then goes around and shoots them all, which is like sort of
Very violent.
like, wouldn't you just be okay with blinding them?
And
Like,
running away.
yeah, why would you then have to resort to straight up murdering a bunch of them? I know they're terrible people, but like, it's very cold blooded.
Does it make you any better if you kill them?
I don't know.
I feel like books are a lot like that sometimes. Like they're always like, and then this person got murdered, and it's like NBD. Let's not care about that anymore. And I'm like, shouldn't we maybe care about that a little bit more? But
Yeah,
nope,
you
she
know,
badass.
and yeah, and apparently it was nothing for her to murder a few people in cold blood. Uh, we're sort of in Bryce's point of view, and she's sort of like talking to herself and revealing that she kept the secret of her starborn power to protect herself from the Asteri because she's got like the largest starborn power and the greatest starborn power in generations. And is also her father. Like, if he knew about her power, he would have been a lot more. Uh, he would have wanted her around a lot more. And,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that he's an asshole, obviously she didn't want to have to deal with him.
Yeah.
Um, she also was planning on telling Rune after they had sort of developed a relationship, but she saw how proud he was of his Starborn title and how it sort of gave him a little bit of an edge with his father. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it gave him a title and it gave him purpose, and his father, it made him useful essentially to his
Yeah.
father. So she says that she buried it within herself. and never told another soul.
Hmm.
She also said that she thought Danika would be like terrified of her for blinding a bunch of dudes and then killing them all. But apparently she wasn't. When Danika opened her eyes, she said she thought she would see fear and terror in her eyes, but she saw nothing but love and admiration. So she loved her platonically.
Hmm.
We also figure out that having the crystal's demon venom in her leg made her unable to access her light. So the venom was neutralizing the light inside of her. So she hasn't had it for a couple of years. And what she did was she took all the light out of herself and shoved it in the gate, one of those gates with the rip in it, the portal, and shoved it at the portal to close it. And it worked. But there's still 6 more gates that are open.
Yeah.
So like it
It's
worked on
great. It's a
one,
great accomplishment, but still.
6 more.
Yeah.
Uh and again, so we're seeing all of this. I don't exactly know how, because she's not on the phone anymore.
No, they're like,
So
Declan's a technology whiz, so he can follow it. Like, he can hack into any camera ever.
yeah.
It's, you know.
Anyway, so I guess they all see it. They all see her use the Starborn power. So the Autumn King, he has his priorities straight. The very first thing he does is he calls Bryce's mom, Ember. I don't know how he got her number, but
No, really, though. I
like I
didn't even
don't
think of that part.
I don't know how he got her number, but he calls her and he flips out and was like, "You kept this a secret from me." And she was like, "Yeah, I did."
But my favorite part is that Declan just like pieces it in so that everybody at the summit can hear it. Like, it's like I hope you're not trying to have a private conversation, because we're gonna patch that through so that everybody here can hear what the fuck is going on. It's my favorite.
Saves a lot of time of them having to like explain it twice, right?
It does.
So she tells and by she I mean Ember tells the Autumn King the only reason it was kept a secret was for Rune, because his status was the only thing that the Autumn King valued. And Bryce loved the Autumn King, or Bryce loved Bryce loved Rune more than she hates the Autumn King. And like it really bothers me that the Autumn King is mad about this. Like, I get why he's mad, and it tracks with his character that he would be mad, but like, he must know that he's a terrible father, and he's treated her like garbage. Like, why on earth would they tell him anything?
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
Like, if he had been a decent father, I could see him being mad and being like, I was there for her too. Why couldn't you tell me? Blah, blah, blah. But he wasn't. He
No,
was
not
god
even a little
awful.
bit.
No, he's god awful. Anyway, it bothered me when I read that. I'm like, you have no right to be upset. Like, be a decent human and then come back to me.
Fair.
While this is going on, Hypaxia. So, like, again, she doesn't really know. Like, she knows these people as the meta witch who's, like, sort of been at the crime scenes a couple of times. But, like, she's sort of the odd one out. She's, like, this stranger in a room full of people that know each other and have history with each other. And she's just sort of, like, hanging out.
Yeah.
And, like, I love her. And all of a sudden, like, she's just sort of made it over next to Hunt. And she just, like, quietly removes the halo from his head, so he's not a slave anymore. Like, his power is back, like he can use his full power. Like, she just does it. She's like, I'm queen of the witches now, I can do what I want.
NBD, let's get this done.
Yeah, I love it. So she does that just as Sandriel sort of told the Asteri what Bryce is. So she sort of says, "Oh, she's a Starborn. She's got Starborn power. She's a tattletale."
Yes.
They think that Bryce is a danger to their authority, so they're going to take her out.
Mm.
Not on a date.
Not like Micah
not
wanted
not
to.
not
Not
like
like
Micah.
Micah wanted to,
No,
but
they want her deaded.
not deaded, but dead.
Yeah. So Hunt now has no halo, so his power is fully intact, and he's pissed that Sandriel has just told the Asteri about Bryce's power. He knows that that means they're going to kill Bryce,
Yeah.
so he does what any, I guess, friend
Friend with benefits, but no benefits, but like a partial
almost
benefit one time on a couch with some blood. Like
almost benefits. So he
cop buddies. Like all those
yeah
cop shows where they get together in the end. The cop buddies are
yeah
they always get together.
um so essentially he uses his power to, and I quote, flay her from the inside out.
Sounds hot.
And then he pulled off her head. He beheaded her just for kicks.
Like you should.
Because why not? I mean, if you're going to do
Well,
something, do it right the
Bryce
first time.
vacuumed a guy, so I think he's just trying to show her up now.
It's true. It's
He's
true.
like, I can't.
Yeah. So apparently he looks like really vicious and dangerous, and and I guess it's this sort of version of him at full capacity, at full power, that that really, I guess, gives him the name, like the Umbra Mortis. Like
Mm-hmm.
this aspect of him is why he's the Angel of Death.
Yeah.
I guess with Sandriel dead, they take Fury's helicopter. It's finally here. They're going to take it to the city. So they're going to go rescue Bryce. So it's sort of a yay moment. Like, cavalry's coming.
Yeah.
Fury sort of says to Hunt that Bryce was a ghost until she met him, implying that, like, he completes her. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Which you're
one of
like,
those.
Fury, how did you even know? You're not around. But
Exactly. Yes, 100%. So Bryce is still at the gate that she fixed. She can't move.
yeah, I think that the time is different. I don't think that because they just jumped in a helicopter, it takes an hour to get back to town. I think that she didn't just sit there for an hour.
No, but like her, I guess her energy is spent. She's got nothing left.
Yeah.
So the Asteri sent their army with brimstone bombs, which are special bombs made entirely of magic. And essentially, wherever they struck, there was like utter destruction. So they were shooting bombs into the city to sort of close the, like, stop the demons, but also they're killing all the people too because they're bombing. So they keep shooting the bombs, and Bryce gets stuck under a piece of concrete just as Fury and Hunt show up in the helicopter. And Hunt got his wings cut off. So, like, he can't fly yet. It's only been a few days, really, since he had his wings cut off. So all I think of is that he's got these little tiny baby wings, like, coming out of his back. They're, like, really small. So he essentially jumps out of the helicopter anyway over Bryce, and like jumps and like glides down using his little baby wings as best he can. He can't full on fly, but he can like lower himself gently. He literally rests on top of Bryce to shield her from the next bomb. So he did manage to protect her, but he gets fucked. And like, this is not what I expected when he did that. But it literally said that his body was in ribbons. He lost both of his legs, like, were clean off, like in another part of the road. They were way over there. And one of his arms was gone. So, like,
Yeah.
he was destroyed. And Fury's helicopter also went down with one of those bombs.
Mm.
But they managed to land and everybody's okay. But they're like 30 blocks away from Bryce. So Bryce sort of, I don't know how she figures this out with like half of Hunt like next to her. Like he's literally
Just a torso.
a torso with a head next to her. How does she think of these things? She figures out that the gates, all the gates, are on the ley lines and sort of act like a conduit to each other. So if she can figure out how to make the drop and use her light, like the light that comes out when you make the drop, her Fey light, combining that with the Luna horn that is embedded in her back, along with her Starborn light, using all those things combined, she can banish the demons and close all the gates because they're all connected.
Which, like, this moment, she is the smartest person in the entire world. But, like,
Yeah.
the beginning of this episode, she was the dumbest person ever.
Yes.
So it's just wild.
Yeah. Agreed.
Under a ton of pressure here, she figures out something that no one would ever figure out. But earlier, when she could have just waited 5 seconds until they walked out of the lobby and tried to have that conversation differently. Anyway.
So her only issue is that she needs somebody to be her anchor at another gate because there's no one around her except for Torso Hunt. So so she's like, I need somebody to make the drop. So she goes over to the gate and is trying to speak into it to try and say, if anybody is there, I need you to be my anchor so that I can make the drop. I can make all the demons go away. I just need you to be my anchor.
Mm.
And like, I will say this was a really heartwarming part. So there's a gate over in the Bone City, the Bone Quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And she hears Danika's voice from the Bone Quarter gate telling her to light it up. So like Danika, her soul is offering to be Bryce's anchor, which is so like heartwarming.
Yeah.
So like the one thing I wasn't sure of, so like when they make the drop, do you think it's just a, oh, I guess I'll make the drop now and whoop, and you like it's a conscious like decision, like, and it's easy to just start whenever you want?
I have no idea. They don't really talk about it a lot, but it seems like you need something else cuz like yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand how she can just do it.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, so she makes the drop. But so we talked about in the very first episode that all Veneer children take a test to see how powerful they're going to be. And Bryce's test said that she would be like very minimal. She would have minimal power. She wasn't going to be crazy. But she touched the gate so that when her Fey light came out, it would travel to all the gates. And remember, these gates are acting like little tourist attractions and like wishing wells where people are donating a drop of their power and making a wish. So all that power is hanging out in the gates.
Mm-hmm.
So when she makes the drop, she drops into all the power that everybody has been donating for centuries. So she keeps dropping and dropping way, way below what her expected power rating is. And as she drops, the light shines from the gates and the ley lines, and it makes a 6-pointed star, and it starts to push the demons back. And the part I love is that I don't know how they do it, but for some reason they're able to monitor her drop.
Yeah,
And
of
like
course they are.
like Declan over there, he can, it's like it's like on a scale, and you can see like this little red dot like beeping as it goes down the scale. It's
Mm.
like beep, 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 beep. And it keeps, and they're like, oh, she's still dropping. She's still dropping. Like, how the hell do you know? How do you see this? How are you monitoring this? But I
Declan's a
digress.
wizard.
Anyway, so she stops at 1 decimal point higher than the Autumn King. So she is 0.1% stronger than the Autumn King. And I'm like, if that is not a symbol for, like
A
children,
giant slap in the face.
yeah, children pissing off their parents, I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome. So I guess she sort of did what she set out to do. She made the drop. Her light shone in the six-pointed star, and it started to push the demons back. So she sort of says, because Danika's soul all of a sudden happens to be there in her mind, in her little mind palace. I don't know what else. That's what I just think of it as. She's in
Yeah,
a
for
little.
sure.
So Danika's there, and she sort of says she's not going to make the ascent because she sort of can't. Danika
Mm.
is dead. She's not a true anchor. So she's not an anchor back to life. So she can't help Bryce make that ascent. So
Mm-hmm.
Bryce is like, well, I'll just stay here. You can stay with me. And like, this is for the best anyway. Uh, but Danica sort of convinces her that her life is worth living, and also that Hunt has been healed by her first light that she made. So, he's there for her to go back to.
Mm.
Um, the Autumn King, again, everybody is still looking, and for some reason they can see her, like her consciousness, and see that it's still there. And if you remember, she has a time limit. Like, she only has about 6 minutes to make the ascent, or else she's going to go brain dead. So, she's got like 5 seconds left. And the Autumn King sort of says that no one has ever gone beyond their estimated power level
Which
and
she's
made
gone
the,
like a bajillion percent beyond hers.
yeah, and then made the ascent. Like, not only can they not make the ascent without an anchor, they can't do it at all when they've gone so far past their expected power level.
Mm.
So he's like, well, she's not going to make it. However, she starts her ascent, and it's almost like you're running. The way they describe it is like you're running off a cliff, and you have to like get your propulsion to like take that jump. And Danica sort of uses the last of her essence, the last sliver of her soul, to give Bryce that extra push it needs to get her back to life. So she makes it, and when she wakes up, Hunt is like giving her CPR,
Mm.
and she sort of mentions that him like talking to her sort of helped her get back get back.
Yeah.
And then they just get up and go to her apartment. Wait, like it just seems so casual. Like, he was literally dead minutes ago. He was a
He was a
torso.
torso.
A torso. She was also pretty much brain dead a minute
Mm.
ago. And they've fought a whole bunch of demons. The city has been bombed. And yeah, let's just go back to our place.
Like where are Fury and Rune? Like
Where's
when we
Ed?
walk back to their helicopter, make sure they're okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it just, I just don't, it just seems very casual to me. Anyway, they go back to their apartment, and she finally breaks down and like has her little cry. I'm like, fair point, man. You've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You got this.
Hmm.
Um, we sort of see that even though Hunt's slave halo is gone, the thing that binds his power, like, he still has the tattoo on his wrist. So
Hmm.
technically he's still a slave. Um, and then they start to make out like they're about to jump each other's bones. And then her parents call. So, like, we never get a break. We never
Nope.
get the satisfaction that we as readers deserve with all the sexual tension in this book. We don't
Very
get
true.
it. So they sort of, okay, so she talks to her parents, says that she's okay. But apparently it's all over the news who her real father is. Nobody knew
Mm.
that before. Now everyone knows. She's talking to her parents on the phone. Isaiah calls Hunt on his phone and he needs help down at the barracks. So with Micah dead, Isaiah is now in charge until a new archangel is put in charge. So he's like, "Can you please come help me?" So they're like, "Great." So they're essentially saying, "Well, I guess sex is going to have to wait. Like, can't have sex right now." Um, Before Hunt leaves to go to the barracks, one of the Asteri actually calls Bryce, which is like a big woohoo. It's
Yeah.
insane. And essentially threatens her, says, like, "We commend you for being alive. Don't use the horn anymore. Don't, like, put up a fuss. Don't get out of hand. And you and Hunt can live in peace. Like, you guys can live out your lives together. Oh, and we just freed him for you. So just to thank you for your service. So now he's free. So, like, just don't go stirring up trouble." So that was, I mean, it's,
Nice.
I guess, but it's also the, like, we know that this is going to be at least 3 books. So, like,
Hmm.
do I believe that she's going to
Stay out of trouble
stay at it?
forever.
Nah, not
For
happening.
sure, though.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is sort of like our clue up now. This, we're going to get chat to, our major players. They meet up with Rune and everybody, like Rune and Fury and all them, and they make up. Um, and Rune actually says that he doesn't care about. He tells Bryce that he doesn't care about the Starborn stuff as long as she is in his life. And I just think that's a really nice brotherly thing to say.
Yeah.
So he's a good bro. He said, "I don't care about the Starborn stuff. Like, I don't care if you're more powerful than me. I just care that you're my sister and you're in my life," which is nice.
It is, yeah.
They spend a couple of days working in the city to get it back up and running. Since there's no governor, it sort of falls to Isaiah, but, like, they're figuring out how to run the city. Um, Conveniently, Bryce's first light power healed the whole city.
Mm.
So, like, any injured people were automatically healed. All the buildings that were destroyed from the missiles were healed. All the
Mm.
destruction was healed. The only thing that wasn't healed were the dead people.
Yeah.
So she goes for a walk on her own to the bone quarter and sort of sits on the bench. And she listens to a voicemail that she had kept on her phone for the past 2 years from Danika. Um, she really only listened to it when she was super depressed and, like, super upset. But she'd still kept it. But, like, she sort of listened to it when she was the lowest of the low, when she was
Mm.
as low as she could get. So she listens to it once and then she deletes it. And she also deletes the text thread from Danica, which is obviously a huge step for her.
Hmm.
Um, like, she's finally starting to move on. The bone quarter all of a sudden does her a favor, and the mists sort of part across the river, and it shows Connor and the pack of devils, and they're all smiling and waving at her. Um, Obviously, Danica's not there because she gave the last sort of spark of her soul to give Bryce enough power to make the ascent.
Hmm.
But everybody else is there, and they're all waving and they're all happy. So it's sort of like her moment to accept and move on. So she waves to them, and then she gets up and she goes back to her apartment with Hunt. So she sort of implies that she's ready to start living her life again. And this part sort of makes me sad because she wants to be at peace. Like, I feel like she's had enough excitement in her life and
Mm-hmm.
enough tragedy and enough trauma and all that. So I want her to be at peace and happy, but like, obviously, we know that there's at least two more books. So she's not going to get that
No.
peace just yet. And I just want her to be relaxed and happy, but I know it's not happening.
Yeah.
Anyway, I found also the epilogue like super mysterious, which is probably the one thing about this book that I found cliffhangery.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our Prince of Hell, Adis, as a white cat, talking to Jessica.
Mm.
They know each other, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And he says that Bryce's first light power reminds him of someone called Thea. And he sort of insinuates that him and Thea were lovers,
Mm-hmm.
is sort of what I got from it. He says that like he could never forget
Yeah.
like what her first light was. So apparently Bryce is similar to that. And he also insinuates that he knows who Hunt's father is. So Hunt doesn't know, and his mom never ever told him.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows who Hunt's father is. And then he sort of suggests that Jessica knows Hunt's father or knew Hunt's father even better than Adis does. So I'm sort of like, well, geez, how old is Jessica? I didn't think she was that old.
Yeah.
Um, he also says, and this sort of is an interesting, nice little thing. He says that they're going to punish the demons for leaving hell and raising the city. So, like, seems like these princes of hell might not be as bad as they're made out to be if
Mm-hmm.
they're like all going to go back and like punish the demons. So maybe they're actually like the good guys in this story scenario.
Yeah.
And Jessica says that she moved the secret library again, and she says to Adis, "Don't fuck us over this time." And what is happening?
What does that even mean?
Like so I so want to know like what all of this is referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a second book out and I could possibly get some answers. I'm not getting any answers.
You're getting very few answers from the next book. You're gonna get a lot more
Okay.
questions. You'll get a few from this epilogue, but you're not getting as many as you want.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's the end of Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. We made it through. It was a long road, but we made it.
A lot happened, for sure.
A lot. Yeah. It was a mountain. It was a lovely mountain,
Yeah,
but it was a mountain.
definitely. Any final thoughts on the book?
I like I just love it, honestly. It's it's just one of those books where it's got a ton of mystery, it's got a ton of twists and turns.
Mm-hmm.
It has action and adventure, has a little bit of romance, not enough, but obviously some.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that. I think it's one of those books that has like, it has, if not everything, it has a good portion of things that interest me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's definitely, well, any Sarah J. Maas book. There's twists, there's turns, there's things that I didn't expect, and I love that in a book. I love when I can't predict what's going to happen. So I definitely really enjoy this book. And then trying reading it again. This was my second time for this, and trying to figure out what the breadcrumbs are going forward. It's definitely interesting and trying to figure out how things piece together.
Yeah.
I love her books.
Yeah, me too. I'm a fan. And I know there are some people that maybe think that she's a bit like predictable, but I don't find that at all.
No,
You're
neither do
entitled
I.
to your opinion.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So that wraps us up for this week. If you want to get in touch with us and share your thoughts on anything you heard in any of our episodes, or if you have any book suggestions, you can email us at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com. And be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Coffee and Co Read.
So next week we are going to be reading Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. We're going to start it off easy with chapters 1 to 5. And we're also going to be diving a little bit into the show as well. So make sure you follow along. If you're enjoying our little chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you find content. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you on the next page.